Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I'm Peter, that is Tim, and we are going to talk about the best Halloween sequel. It's called Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers.
It's a bold statement.
Do you disagree? First of all, there will be spoilers for Halloween 4 and all the previous Halloween films as well. I imagine might get mentioned. So, Tim, do you disagree with that statement?
Oh, definitely. I'd say of the four we watched, this is my least favorite.
Oh, not Tim. Oh God, no. What's no, no.
You actually like this? I'm actually like super surprised. This
Oh
kind of
God,
sucked.
no. Oh my God, Tim, no. What? Oh my God, explain yourself.
I don't. It was kind of boring. The storyline was pretty stupid. It wasn't like overly, cheesy like the third one where it was enjoyable. I just thought it was kind of bland. And after I watched it, I was kind of like, when I started getting towards the end, I was like checking my watch, but like, all right, is this over yet?
I, I'm speechless. I wasn't expecting this.
Really, I'm surprised you like it so much. And there really wasn't anything that like stood out to me about it. It seemed like a very like, I don't know, like safely generic, by the numbers kind of, horror sequel.
Well, I'll give you this, right? It is a bit more generic than Halloween 1 and 2, right? Because it is very much more of a, slasher movies are a big hit. We want to make Michael Myers great again, to paraphrase a thing. But here's the thing, right?
Okay.
I actually really like the plot of Halloween 4.
Really?
I really like the plot of Halloween 4. And I think it makes the perfect trilogy with 1 and 2.
Okay.
For reasons I'll properly get into when we get to the ending. But I think it explores a lot of interesting ideas. I love this idea that it's the 10-year anniversary of the first night, the first movie, that night of all these murders. And I love the idea that everyone's aware of him now. Like, the first movie, he comes in and no one knows he's there. Like, Donald, Loomis knows he's around and he's like trying to hunt him and he's talking to the sheriff. But this time, the entire town knows who he is. They know about these events.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this build of him getting to the town and the journey there, and like, is he coming to the town, and the characters kind of, when they hear he's there, like, there's an angry mob that forms with shotguns and is like,
That was cool. I'll give you that.
I like that. I like the whole, we're waiting for the asshole. We're going to hold up in a house. We're going to board the windows. We're going to sit with shotguns and we're going to protect the target. Like, I love what it does. I love that it takes these elements and subverts them to a point where it's not the same movie as the first one. Arguably, it feels a bit more generic in terms of the filmmaking. It's not as suspenseful. Like, I'll definitely give you that. There's a reason why Halloween 1's like a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the two main characters, the two sisters, or I don't know if you would say like adopted sisters or whatever.
I believe the term they use in the movie is foster sisters.
Foster sisters, yeah. I just didn't really find them that compelling, and it feels so super forced that that the little girl is Michael Myers' niece. It's just like
I will concede that it's somewhat forced, that element, and that Laurie's just like presumed dead. Like, I think this she was in a car accident or something like that.
Well, I was gonna ask you because I don't know, like I didn't remember if there was like a minute or two where maybe I zoned out or something, but I was just kind of like, yeah, did they ever mention what happens to Laurie, or it's just
implied that she's dead because because Jamie, who named after Jamie Lee Curtis, funnily enough. Well, I'm assuming she is. I mean, it seems like too much of a coincidence that it's not, but
makes sense, yeah.
It's just kind of she's the last line. This is why Michael's coming after her, because she's the relative that's left.
Yeah.
Um,
And then just like
no, don't get me wrong, Tim. Right, I kind of agree with that complaint because it is like it's very much a case of right. Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to come back. What's the plot going to be? And they wrote from there. I assume. I've not looked that up to find out, but I'm assuming that's what this was. I'm assuming she didn't want to come back for whatever reason, and they thought, right, let's write a story without her. So we want to continue the idea of them coming after a relative. But I thought that even the idea that she was a relative in the first place in Halloween 2 was clunky and forced.
yeah,
So,
I'll give you that.
So to me, that's just kind of like an extension of that. It's like whatever. Like, and at least with this one, it's not a twist. Like 2/3 into the movie, it's just like
Right.
here, she's niece. Deal with it. Let's move on. Let's have a film.
Yeah. And then the other thing that kind of bugs me, and I feel like this happens in like all the big franchises where there's always a sequel with like a child, and then there's always like some type of like either weird, like either like a psychic bond or like a weird thing where the villain's trying to like take them over or something. And so it just like, when they're kind of like delving into like, if like kind of towards the beginning of the movie where it's like, I don't know if she's having dreams or if she's like seeing like weird visions of them, but I don't know, that kind of stuff kind of annoys me.
I don't think it's a psychic bond. I think that's a weird interpretation.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that's what they're doing in this movie. I'm just saying that like in general, like in these big franchises, I feel like there's always like some movie where there's like a child and the villain's like trying to take over.
But I don't think the villain is though. I think Michael just wants to kill her. I think Michael's intentions this entire film is to kill her.
Yeah.
I think I have a completely different reading what's going on there, but I don't want to talk about it until we get to the end, for obvious reasons.
Well, I mean, well, I'm not really again trying to say that that's necessarily what's going on, but there's always like some type of, I don't know, weird thing with like a villain and a kid. I don't know. It just seems like a weird trope for these big franchise movies.
I think this one does it way better. Like, I don't think it fits exactly into what you're saying, but I think I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you're sort of. Like I'm thinking of the examples in the other franchises that you're, like, aligning this with. I think this does this way better than in this movie. Right, we're not talking about Halloween 5. I want to make that clear for anyone watching this who thinks I'm including Halloween 5 in this conversation. I will talk about Halloween 5 when we talk about Halloween 5. That's a different matter.
I still haven't seen that one, but yeah, I did watch Nightmare 5 yesterday, The Dream Child. And I don't know, it's just a weird thing to me. There's always like eventually there's always one movie with like where a kid's involved.
Yeah, but I don't feel like this did the same thing that those other examples did.
Yeah, I mean, like it's at least better than them, but
yeah, like the focus and the way, because she's still a victim in this. She's still, and if anything, I thought that was interesting. That what if the main target is actually like 10, or 9 or whatever age she is.
Yeah, I guess.
Timmy, you're really disappointing here. I also love the relationship between Michael and Loomis in this one. Loomis going on the hunt, who sounds like a complete he sounds like a nut job who thinks the apocalypse is coming the entire time. He's like, that's not a man. It's not here anymore.
Well, I don't remember when we watched the second one, did we know that Loomis survived, or
no.
Did they didn't say?
They didn't say. They didn't specify.
Okay.
We just kind of assumed he died because of what happened. And seriously, Tim, you have less of a problem with this than you do about Laurie having a daughter. Like, seriously, that Loomis is still alive after that ending of Halloween 2? Come on.
There's a lot of crazy stuff here, but I do kind of like that. Like, Loomis is almost like as
unkillable.
Like he's like kind of like on the opposite spectrum. Like he's like, yeah, he could. He's like a force of nature.
He's like the yin to the yang. He's the balance in the force.
Yeah,
he's the Luke Skywalker to the Darth Vader that is the shape.
But he is still like pretty banged up in this now. He has like the burnt face and like he's kind of walking with a limp.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny though that he was literally the center of that explosion and he got out of it with a couple of burns and a limp. Dear. That said, though, I do obviously the whole idea is that Michael's unkillable, so whatever. Yeah, he's sure he survived, right? But I do like the interesting question that Loomis poses, because I love the scene at the like the garage. You know, it's like an auto parts station, and like Loomis arrives there, and Michael's already there, and he's killed a guy. He gets his jumpsuit there, and I love that moment. When
Is that why like Loomis went there? Because he was like he's gonna be looking for a jumpsuit.
No, I think he's on the road to Haddonfield because he knows that that's where he'll probably be going.
Right,
So this is
that
just
makes
on the
sense.
road. Yeah.
Okay.
And like I love that Loomis just tries to talk to him. Like he doesn't get scared, he doesn't run away. He does eventually try and shoot him, of course, but he like leaves the town alone. Like why now? Why did you wait 10 years? Like he just believes he could have got up at any time that he wanted to.
And in a weird way, he's probably the closest thing Michael has to like a friend, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Or it's like the, yeah, obviously they're not, but the closest.
Yeah.
Now I do
yeah.
have a question about the gas station scene.
Okay.
I do not understand what caused that explosion. Did he just like run over something? Like
There was a power cable, so I think it's a power cable when he's leaving.
and if you just run over a power cable, that makes an explosion.
I think there was like some of the gas was on the it was leaking. Like remember, Loomis was just. By the way, this is a really weird thing to notice, but have you ever seen a car where the access to the tank is behind the license plate? It was just a
No,
weird thing because Loomis's
yeah.
car, when he goes to put in the nozzle, he pulls down the license plate and he puts it in there. I'm like, oh, that's fancy.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that before.
Secret entrance.
Yeah.
It's exciting. But I honestly, I'd have, you know what? I'd have to watch it. And it's one of those things where I'm just so like I've seen this movie like 20 times. I'm just so used to the gas station exploding that I don't even remember. Like
It
I
was
gloss
just-
over it.
Yeah, it was just strange because like I watched it and then like I rewound it because I was like, oh, did he hit something that I didn't notice? Let me just try it. And then like, I mean, maybe I had to rewind like, further back like a full minute or something to
Probably
see
not.
like,
Probably not.
but I was just watching. I was like, huh, that's weird. This like I couldn't tell what was going on.
It's such
And also
it's such an over the top an explosion, and you even see Loomis sort of like dive in slow motion into like some like garbage that's lying around. It's like
Also, the idea of Michael Myers just like driving a pickup truck kind of makes me laugh.
yeah, he did drive in the first movie though, so the driving is not a new thing. It's just the
Sure.
type of car, which leads to Loomis running into this preacher guy who's like an alcoholic, and
Well, the whole hitchhiking stuff kind of made me laugh.
yeah, it was like a weird comedy scene of
Yeah.
like out of a different movie, but I kind of enjoy it because I think Loomis, he's always the craziest guy in the room talking about Michael. That I liked
Yeah.
the scene where he was in a car with someone who was crazier than he was,
Yeah.
and he's just sort of sitting there like, aye, yeah, the apocalypse is coming, aye.
And for a second, it kind of seemed like maybe he almost like weirdly thought they were on the same page because I think like the preacher song like starts off with like, oh, I can tell like you're on the hunt, like you're after,
yeah.
and you can tell like Loomis is kind of like, oh, like like, but then he quickly is kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
about something else.
Yeah, he's talking about Satan. He's on the hunt for Satan. Which I mean, you could argue Michael's kind of that, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
But no, I like all this build up to him coming to the town, and we have Rachel sort of looking after Jamie and taking her Halloween costume sort of, and she buys the costume that Michael wore at the start of the first movie, which is your first sign of things here.
What a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence, it's fate, Tim. It's fate.
Or some type of destiny bond kind of thing, something working our way in our mind.
Well, wait till we get to the end, Timmy. Wait till you get to the end. I have my own feelings on the ending, and it all connects to this, of course. So, yeah, Rachel takes Jamie out for trick or treating. She's got a boyfriend who's a douchebag who ends up going to shack up with the sheriff's daughter instead. Which, by the way, like, how many? Because these teens are what, like 17 maybe, like around that age. Or they're supposed to be. They all look like they're 25, but you know.
Yeah.
And they're having like sex in like her house, but there's like how many teenagers at 17 who are having sex are doing it with a bottle of wine and a roaring fireplace? You know,
I don't know, I guess.
call me crazy, but you know, teenage sex is more often like, you know, a quickie behind a bush than it is
Oh, yeah.
in front of a fireplace. You know,
Well, I mean,
these are
yeah,
classy teenagers, classy.
yeah. Oh yeah, like these are like the rich, like preppy, little jerky teenagers.
No. But yeah, so Michael comes to town. Michael, Michael. It's funny because there's a scene where, like, you know, Loomis gets there and he gets to the sheriff's and he's looking for the sheriff in the first movie, and like, yeah, he retired like 8 years ago. Like, what you do? He's like, I'm the sheriff now. He's like, okay, we can get that actor back. Good, right? We've learned that. And he very quickly like convinces them that Michael's in town and that they should go look for things. But I like that, like, the sheriff like questions it for like a little bit, but he has to take it seriously because everyone here. It's not like, you know, because everyone here remembers that night. It's only been 10 years, so it's all enough time that different people are in positions, but everyone there who's been living there remembers what it was like that night. You know, some of them may have even lost a son or a brother or whatever. And
a lot of people are like tastefully wearing those costumes.
You know what's funny? Like, so there's that scene when they arrive, because they go looking for Jamie, because, you know, Loomis is smart enough to figure that's what Michael's gunning for, and they find him out in the street after the trick or treating, and there's like 3 guys with like Michael Myers masks, and Loomis is like, I'm like, all I could think of was the scene from Halloween 2 when they seen someone in a mask, and he was about to shoot him, and then a guy get hit with a car and he burned alive. And I was just thinking, oh god, Loomis is going to go on a murdering spree here. He's like, you know what? Can't take chances. All of them.
You know, I might have preferred like that movie where like Loomis is the psycho and he just like everyone he sees it just looks like Michael Myers.
I would enjoy that. I'm not going to lie. I would get into that movie. But
That's funny though. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh, those poor kids. Like, don't they know? Like, people that dress up
like Michael
Myers,
meet a very over the top fate. So yeah, but no, I like the, you know, let's go to the sheriff's house. Let's, you know, board up the windows. Let's like, because at this point they've already went to the police station and the cops have been massacred. Michael Myers went in there apparently like the Terminator and like killed several cops, which I'm kind of upset we didn't see that scene. Like, if I'm going to make, like, because I think if I make a complaint about this movie is that, like I say, the suspenseful stuff is kind of missing from a lot of it, and a lot of that is the build up to the kills. I feel like there's a lot of deaths in this movie where we just find the bodies after the fact.
Yeah, it's. I feel like there wasn't a ton of like satisfying kills, really.
There's a couple. There's a couple I really like, but
yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what was kind of lacking for me.
I love the thumb in the head. That's
a
quality one. I also love when the sheriff's daughter gets it, that Michael, like, because this is when he's pretending to be the deputy and he's like in the rocking chair.
Oh yeah.
And then she sees the dead deputy and realizes what's going on, and he stands up and, you know, the music kicks in. It's a really great moment, and he turns around, and I love this about Michael Myers. He's holding a shotgun, but instead of shooting her, he decides that he would rather impale her with it.
Okay, I will admit that was amazing. That was awesome. like that whole scene, just the like the creepy rocking and then getting up, and then also like you see that, I'm kind of thinking like, I wonder how long he was like sitting there.
Yeah.
And then like but yeah, and I see when you see him with a shotgun, it was kind of weird. I was like, oh, like, is he gonna like shoot someone? I don't think we've seen that before, but no, right through his stomach.
He's anti-guns, Michael. Say what you want about him. He's not a fan of guns. He likes to impale. You don't feel the killing your hands the same way, you know.
Yeah.
No, not a fan of the ranged style, but no, I think that's a great kill. I do enjoy the boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, you know, douchebag, try to stand up to Michael and like throwing some punches. Don't get me wrong, it's not Friday the 13th Part 8, like, you know, boxing guy getting his head knocked off, but it's,
yeah,
you know, I enjoyed the scene, and then, you know, him chasing them up to the roof and then chasing them to the school. And of course that's where Loomis is like back in the picture by then, because I love the feeling of that they're so isolated, because the rest of the police force has been taken out, and a lot of the sheriff and Loomis stuff is like them trying to get like reinforcements, try to get like people, the National Guard or whoever they're calling, the state troopers, and like, I don't know, I just love the gist of the movie. I love the pacing. I love the setup. I love the fact that it's like it is all like let's try and hold our ground, and then when that goes to shit, they run to the school and it goes elsewhere. And then when it feels like they've got out and like the gang of like let's say gang, the hillbillies with the shotguns who are all hunting Michael, who accidentally kill someone, by the way. There was someone who gets accidentally killed because someone thinks to see Michael in a bush, and they all just open fire Predator style, and then they go up and check who it is, and it's like a random teenager.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they really should have thought about that, guys. Again, this is why Michael Myers is against guns, because mistakes like this happen. You know for sure that Michael, when he killed that girl with that shotgun, he intended to kill that girl with that shotgun.
Now, if do these kills, do they count as part of like Michael's body count?
What, the accidental ones from other people?
Yeah, because I mean, like, they wouldn't have been shooting him if he wasn't causing all the mischief.
If I'm racking up slasher movie kills, no. But if I was in the world and I was talking about deaths that night, probably.
Okay.
I would like, yeah, that's just part of this tragedy claimed all these lives, even if Michael himself didn't kill that one person. Yeah. But if I'm going to say Michael killed X amount of people in this movie versus an X movie or versus Jason in his movie, like, I would just count the ones he killed.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious.
Not that I've thought a lot about it. It was just you asked me, and I came up with an internal logic. But there's a great moment. See when Michael shows up in the school, and he throws Loomis out the window. For some reason, I don't know what it is. I don't know why this happened or why they even had this in their possession. But if you're paying attention in that one shot where he throws him out the window, Michael Myers' hair and his mask is white. Huh. And I always notice it now. It's one of these things where you might not notice it, but once you have noticed it, you'll never not see it. And I don't know why. Like, why did they have a white-haired version of the mask just sitting around? Yeah. Why did the actor or the stunt double maybe in this scene, since he's throwing someone through a window, like why did it exist? Why is it there? I don't get it.
It's like it's very clearly white. Like it's not like a weird like light thing.
Nah, like I mean. It may not be exact. It may be a light grey, but it's like definitely not.
It's definitely
It's not the usual color.
That's weird. I might have to go back and look at that. But yeah, I don't know.
It's one of those things where once I noticed it, every time I see it, I just like, God, what is with that shot?
You don't think it was like Michael saw something and got really scared for a second?
I love that explanation, Timmy. It's not that, but I love it.
It's like, Loomis.
Oh dear. Actually, speaking of the skull, I want to go back to towards the start of the movie and just how awful the other children are at Jamie's school. Yeah. Now it's one thing saying, I can't remember the first thing they sing at her, but the second thing they sing at her as she's walking away is Jamie's an orphan, and I'm like, what is wrong with you children?
Yeah, like I remember, like, growing up, like kids could be like, jerks sometimes, but like I feel like there was like, lines that you would never cross,
Yeah, there was even amongst kids, there's certain things that you just you know not to push buttons at.
Yeah, it's so strange.
It's like, you kids are awful. Like, I hope she comes back and kills you later, you little brats. Yeah. You've earned it. But hey, so yeah, and also I loved it when they think they get away. So Rachel and Jamie go in this truck with these guys who are going to get them out of town, and I love that Michael apparently is like James Bond and is like under the car the whole time, and then like climbs up, and then there's this wonderful scene where he's like just like killing them in the back of this truck, and like the guy in front doesn't hear any of it. Now I get that you're on a truck, it's relatively noisy, but not that noisy.
Yeah.
Not that noisy. Oh dear. And of course they eventually stop, she runs over him, and then that's when the sheriff and all the other state troopers or whoever like just blast them into smithereens. And you think that's the end of the movie, but there's one more scene. And Loomis is back at the house with the foster parents, everyone's there, and Jamie's foster mother goes up to make her a bath because she's dirty. She's been rolling around in the mud, climbing on roofs, and all that sort of thing. And we get a POV kill sequence much like the start of the first movie. And when Loomis goes up the stairs, he sees Jamie standing there with the clown mask on, same costume, covered in blood, holding a knife. Actually, no, it's holding a pair of scissors. I do apologise. Which is actually kind of cool. I like this, a slightly different weapon. And she's standing there all bloody, and Loomis just starts screaming no. Like he knows like what this is. And like everyone else just looks shocked, and that's the end of the movie. The Halloween theme plays, and it's this big moment. I love this ending. And I think it's the perfect ending to the series, and it should have ended here. This should have been the last one. Because the way I read this, Timmy, is not so much a psychic bond, necessarily.
Okay.
I read this as Michael wanted to kill her. Like, Michael was he wasn't trying to get to her so he could do anything else with her. He wanted to kill her.
Okay.
But I think, because, now, the next movie ruins this, don't get me wrong. But,
Okay.
but assuming the next movie doesn't exist, and I do when I watch this, when Michael dies, the evil passes on, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's inside him, whatever made him the way he was, passes on to her. Because she is related or whatever, I don't know. But I love this ending. I love this like full circle, this idea that evil never dies. Even if you kill the body, it's still there. That's why Loomis is screaming. That's why Loomis is terrified of what he's seeing. Is that it doesn't matter, because he kept calling Michael it throughout the film. It's like, it's going to Haddonfield, it's not a man, it's pure evil.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like he sees in her eyes it again, whatever it is. And I love it.
I can see that. That's definitely pretty interesting. I did like the ending. Like, I don't know if it necessarily justifies like the character and like the plot for me. Like I do think it was the best ending for this movie and what we had, but it's still like, it doesn't make me kind of like go back and be like, oh, like I really love this now. But I mean, it is cool. Like they did go like full circle. And
I've also I think this is very different. I think this and Halloween 2 approach it in a very different way. I think Halloween 2 tries to mimic the style of the first film, and it does it fairly well. It's obviously not as good, and it's not John Carpenter, but it tries to have the same type of suspense. It's filmed in the same aspect ratio. Yes, I said aspect ratio. Get over it. Whereas this one is not the same aspect ratio, and it's not got the same sensibilities. This one's more of a fun slasher movie, as opposed to trying to be like a suspenseful, creepy slasher movie. But I think it kind of works in that way because it's like a return 10 years later. It's a different generation that's watching it, or the generation that did watch it grew up, that kind of thing. It feels like an evolution. It's a lot of fun. But don't get me wrong, I think the first Halloween works at its best as a standalone film. When I watch the first Halloween, I don't really consider the sequels. I just consider that on its own. And then after that, you sort of choose, well, yeah, okay, I like some sequels. And 2 and 4, I feel, make a pretty good trilogy with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it was going to be a trilogy, it wouldn't be bad. Definitely the first one is amazing.
Obviously,
and awesome. Yeah.
No one can dispute that.
Yeah, and I really like the second one. Like, we talked about that, and we were both pretty big fans and positive about that. And I also really like the third one, even though it's its own different thing, and it's a much crazier style. I don't know. I guess maybe this, like, I'm not gonna say it's like terrible, especially as like, like franchise sequels go. Like, there's definitely ones that are a lot worse, but it still just didn't really do much for me. I don't know.
That's a shame, because I love this one. I like it more than 2. I like it a lot more than 3. Although I will say this, Timmy, not to sort of spoil my thoughts on the next couple.
Okay.
But when you're watching 5, you will be begging for 4. And then when you watch 6, you will be begging for 5.
Yeah.
This is where we're going with this, Timmy. This is the slope we're going to be on.
Yeah, and I think I feel like I say this a lot, but like again, I'm just not like as big on like slashers and stuff, and they kind of have to usually go like kind of like one extreme for me, where it has to either be like really kind of like creepy and awesome, like the first Halloween is, or it has to be like really like over the top and cheesy, and you get like a really fun cheese fest or something. And when you have a movie like this that I feel like kind of falls in the middle. Like it's not really like overly cheesy or anything, so I'm not having a good time.
It may,
Like a bad movie, but
honestly, it might just be as simple as it is more of a sort of 80s slasher movie than it is a Halloween movie. But I like those, so it's like that mixed with Halloween. So for me, that's like, yeah, this is fun. I'd happily have more Halloween movies like this, and that's not what 5 is. I don't think. I think 5 pisses away the ending of this. It is such a shame. I remember seeing 4 for the first time on TV when I was like 12, I think, something like that. And I remember like being really excited and loving it, and like it was on at midnight, one night, and I like watched it. I'd never seen it before. I really enjoyed it. It was fun, and I went straight out to the video store the next day because I was like, "There's a 5th one. I need to see how that continues." So pumped, and I just like watching it, and 5 does, because 4 in a weird way is also kind of a reboot, and you'll see what I mean when you watch 5 and how 4 kind of like kickstarted the franchise again, and how because it was successful in 1988, they wanted to immediately make a 5th and go on, and I'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about 5, but 5 does some things that it feels like the mistakes that a second movie makes rather than, random numbered like in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean that's probably another problem too. Is I don't have as much of the love or nostalgia of the Halloween movies as you do. It's just one of those weird things where
there's a phrase for this actually, Timmy.
Yeah.
It's called filthy casual. That's what you are, Timmy. You're a filthy casual.
All right. What, for Halloween or?
Just horror movies in general.
No. I've definitely seen more than you, but I was never.
It's not the quantity, Timmy. It's not the quantity.
How many have you watched for October, by the way? Because I'm almost up to 80 at this point. Just curious.
Some of it is
okay. Point proven.
Some of it.
So anyway.
Whoa! How much we've watched this month is not how much we've seen in life, and even then, I would argue that quantity is not the issue, Timmy. Quantity is not the defining factor.
Well, but anyway, back to my original point before I was very rudely insulted. I just never really I don't know. I just, again, probably due to my love of, or my not huge love of slashers. Growing up, I never really watched many of the Halloween movies. I think maybe I probably saw the first Halloween in maybe high school or something, and I think maybe I watched the second or third one after that. But I don't know. I just had other franchises growing up, I guess. So I just don't really come at it from a place of nostalgia, I guess. So it probably hampers it a little bit.
Okay. I want a T-shirt now that says "Didn't see Halloween till high school. Filthy casual."
I mean, it's not like the only horror movie,
Tim, I'm jesting. Tim. I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking your horror knowledge and or history. I mean, I am, but I don't want you to feel like it. Oh dear. Well, this was a bombshell. I'm actually terrified now that we're going to watch 5 and you're going to be like, "Oh, 5 was great. 5 was much better than 4."
I still stand by my. I think I said on when we did number 3. I'll still stand by that. That's my favorite Halloween sequel.
Or even worse if you like 6. Jeez. Although we won't find that out until next year, because we're only doing up to 5 this year. 6 onwards is going to be next October. So.
Is 6 H2O?
No, that's 7.
Okay.
6 is Curse of Michael Myers, and it is starring none other than a young Paul Rudd.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that was 5. Oh, crap.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've seen 6 either then, because basically I think I saw the first Halloween probably sometime in high school, and then at that point you're old enough to be going to the movies and going to see R-rated movies and stuff. So I'm pretty sure I saw H2O when it came out.
Oh, you're also older than me too, as well. Then apparently,
Yeah.
because I was not old enough to see H2O when it came out.
If I didn't see it in theaters, I probably rented it pretty quickly after. But
Don't get me wrong.
It seemed like something I would have seen.
I seen it pretty quick. Like I seen it when it hit video, or if not video, then certainly when it hit cable, like a year later. I definitely seen H2O around then, but because it was that weird time in my life where I was into more adult movies, like horror movies and stuff, and like R-rated stuff, but I was clearly not looking old enough to go and see them. Like, because obviously I grew up in the UK, and we don't have this, oh, you can go with an adult if you're under the age. No. If it's an 18, you need to be 18. If it's a 15, you need to be 15. So I'm like 11, I can get into a 12, I look old enough for that, but...
Well, actually... I feel like I had a thought, and then I was like, no, I don't.
Right, so filthy casual with horror, filthy casual with thought process.
I was just gonna say, I was like, that sounds like that might be a better rating system than ours, but I was like, nah, maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, it's funny. I mean, we could actually probably do a whole episode one day about just how the rating systems in both the US and the UK have changed over the years, because there was a time, like, see in the 80s and 90s, especially the early 90s, almost everything that was R-rated would be an 18.
Nasty.
And obviously, the one thing I do like about the UK rating system over the US one is that it's a lot simpler to understand. 18, you know what that means. 15, you know what that means. Like, I mean, not that it's hard to remember that, R-rated is 17, but, it's not obvious at first glance if you've never seen them before.
Yeah.
But 12 is a 12 now, it's PG and whatever. But
I feel like people don't care at all anymore. Like, I'll go see a horror movie, like an R-rated movie now, that I'll just like look over and there'll be like a 2-year-old in the seat next to me. So I feel like it's just no one cares.
And almost everything that was R-rated would be an 18, and almost everything that was a PG-13 would be a 15, and the odd one might be a 12, depending on how it works. Because obviously it's not like there's just a translation where they go, well, it's this, so that equals this. It's like the UK has its own, it's not called the MPAA, it's called the BBFC, but they do the same thing where they review it and they look at it and say, no, it gets this rating. But nowadays, you hardly ever see 18s. Like, almost every R-rated movie that comes out is a 15 in the UK, and almost every PG-13 is a 12. So, clearly the standards have changed, and they're not like, oh, people are too, young or stupid for this and that, and so it's just it's interesting how it's changed over the years.
And plus, the stuff they show on TV is pretty crazy.
Yeah, we've been reviewing, actually, me and Connor on Almost Cancelled, we've been reviewing
Supergirl.
We have been reviewing Supergirl. That was not where I was going with this. We have been reviewing Channel Zero, which it's very good. I recommend it. If you're into horror, and you're into mystery, and you're into creepy imagery, I would highly recommend Channel Zero. It's 3 episodes in. It's a 6-episode season. It's a standalone story. Season 2 will be a different story for different characters. So, 6 episodes, self-contained. But anyway,
check it out.
On the newest episode, without spoiling much, there's a character who gets their a big hook in their neck, and you see it cut, and then it goes to the side view, and there's blood spurting out of it, and it's now it's on basic cable, so it's not the same as network, I guess. But even Hannibal, when that was on, was doing all sorts of disgusting stuff, and it's kind of there's almost a point now where you can get most of the stuff that would have got you a straight R rating in the 80s is now nah, TV 14, sure.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny how it softens like that over time.
Yeah. Especially just because I feel like it's much, much, much easier for someone to for a child to watch something on TV than it is for them to go to the movies. There's still a barrier when it comes to getting into the movie.
Yeah, obviously if it's on TV, they just turn on the channel and there it goes. Right on a hell of a tangent there about rating systems and all sorts. But speaking of rating systems, we're going to rate Halloween 4, and this is going to be 2 vastly different numbers. I've got a sneaking suspicion. Tim, break my heart and give me your rating of Halloween 4.
Well, at first I felt like I felt kind of bad because I was like, oh, I was gonna give this kind of a low score, but now I don't want Peter to feel bad. But then after you come at me like some kind of like I like disgraced your family honor or something. I don't know where this vitriol is coming from. So now I don't feel as bad, but I think my rating can kind of be summed up as one of the kills in this movie where Michael Myers kills that guy at the power plant where,
Oh yes.
you know, he just kind of like just throws a guy into the power lines. But, you know, it feels like he's, at that point, it feels like he's not really trying. He just feels very like, meh.
Which, by the way, that's Michael taking out the phone lines for the entire town. He is.
Yeah.
That's a strategy. Michael's got strategy in this movie. I love it.
But I don't know, like what it just kind of makes me laugh because it just seems like very lazy. Like, you know, he's not impaling with something. He just kind of like is like, just just throwing him off there. But that's how I kind of feel. I'm just kind of like, so I'm gonna give it a 6. I think I'd say it's better than average, but especially in terms of like, you know, big franchise sequels. But I still like wasn't crazy about it.
Okay. I give it a nice solid 8 for me. I mean, we've been counting down our top 100 horror movies. It appeared on my list. In the middle somewhere. I can't remember the exact number, but it was like in the 40s or 50s. You know, I really like Halloween 4, so yeah. A recommendation from me, maybe not so much from Tim. Maybe you'll stick with Tim. I don't know.
I mean, I would say if you're watching the whole series, yeah, definitely watch it. Like, don't skip it. But
don't skip it and watch 5 and 6. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you people?
Well, like, I mean, if you get like, you know, if you get like the box set or something, and you're just like, if you're like, oh, should I watch every movie or should I pick and choose? Like, no, it's definitely worth watching.
Honestly, like, I mean, I should be saving this for when we finish the series next year. But if you're going to just watch some of the movies, honestly, you're watching 1, 2, and 4 as a trilogy, or you're watching 1, 2, and H2O as a trilogy. And everything else you can pretty much disregard. 3's kind of its own thing. You just watch that on its own whenever you feel like 3, because it's its own thing. But because H2O, of course, completely ignores 4, 5, and 6, and you know, Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie's alive and well.
Yeah. Also, I wonder if that would have affected my enjoyment as well too, if it was like, you know, just a trilogy, like if 3 wasn't there, because it is like, because I like, obviously it doesn't have anything to do with 3, but it is like this weird kind of break in your watching, you know, and like I do love 3, but I don't know, maybe it would have been a little better served if, you know, it wasn't in between them. I don't know,
Maybe.
possibly.
But that is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and possibly the beginning of the end of this show, as me and Tim have started a rift that will never be repaired and will only get wider as time goes on.
Yeah.
Just like Tim's legs.
What? Are you like calling me a whore now? What is going on?
Okay, well, to be fair, Timmy, men don't really open their legs to be a horse, so I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm saying you're a gymnast.
Okay.
And you're very good at it. You're very, very flexible.
Oh, okay. Well, I was forgiven then.
Oh, okay. Got myself out of that. Never dig yourself a hole with a rope to climb back up. That's what I always say, folks.
Never stand near a mine shaft when there's an angry village after you.
Actually, that's a good point. I kind of like how it is kind of the lynch mob from Frankenstein coming from Michael Myers in a weird way. It's kind of a nice play on that old trope.
Well, actually, there's a. I just started getting into this podcast called My Favorite Murder. It's like a true crime podcast.
But I'm just going to pause you for 5 seconds just to say, man, we're really tangent at the end of this. Continue.
Yeah. This will be really quick, but they were actually talking about a murder case. I forget which one it was. I want to say it's a Night Stalker, but I'm not completely sure. But basically, they're talking about like how the killer got caught was, like some police were running his photo, and someone recognized him at a store and like started screaming, and the guy started running, and people started chasing him, and then more and more people started chasing him until it was kind of like the whole town was chasing this one guy, and it just kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
Interesting. No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's us. Obviously, check out the other reviews we've done and stuff. It's been a fun and long October. Very busy. I feel like we've done so much recording, and there's been so many TV shows that have started and stuff. And we had all of Black Mirror season 3 at the weekend there. Everything's kind of cutting into my time to just binge horror movies, which is a shame. But at the same time, it's good to be busy, and it's been a blast working through all these extra movies. So,
Oh, no, definitely.
so thank you very much, guys, for watching. We will see you next